Life Management Science Labs would like to acknowledge that we live and produce this podcast on the traditional lands of the Wurundjeri people. We'd also like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the lands of our listeners and our international colleagues. We'd like to thank and pay our respects to their elders, past, present, and emerging. Hi everyone, and welcome to Room by Room, the Home Organisation Science Insights podcast, produced by LMSL, the Life Management Science Labs. We are champions of life management science, providing structured insights informed by science and inspired by practice on key aspects of conscious living. Each week we bring you scientific and practical insights on each element, with expert knowledge from professionals in the field. I'm your host, Gabriella Joustra, coming to you from Naarm, Melbourne, Australia. Let's get started. Hi everyone, welcome back to the podcast. We're here today to talk about organising the home using colour. But before we get going, Laurie, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hey everyone, my name is Laurie Sawaya. I'm a color strategist and expert. I live in Phoenix, Arizona, and I have an online color business where I help homeowners choose color for their homes and manage color in their homes. And I also have an online color training program for designers.
Sounds great. I can't wait to learn a bit more about that. But before we do, we'll do a little bit of an introduction. What's your favorite book?
My favorite book, and this is for all the color nerds, because that's really my whole life is about color. It's a really good intro to the practice and principles. In fact, that's what it's called. It's called Color: An Introduction to Practice and Principles by Rolf Cooney. And it's only like 165 pages long. It's not too technical. It's not mathematical. And it has a really good glossary. So it really gives you a jump start for getting your arms around that color science jargon. So it's my favorite book.
Okay. Sounds good. What's a movie you've seen recently?
This popped up on my Hulu menu and I just clicked on it. I don't even know what inspired me to do it, but I just watched it last weekend. And it's Gentlemen Prefer Blondes, 1953, with Marilyn Monroe and Jane Russell. And, the outfits, the costumes, the colors, the red lips, it's just fabulous.
Yeah, I watched that last year. It was actually great to watch a lot of those old movies.
Yeah, it was fun.
Yeah. Is there a podcast you're listening to at the moment?
I just found, well, I didn't just find, but she just came back from a little bit of a break not too long ago. Her name is Darla Powell, and her podcast is called Wingnut Social. And it's really good. She does social media management for the interior design space and, even travel people. But it's a social media management company. And I also like Vanessa Van Edwards, and it's the science of people. And I love her videos on YouTube.
I'm just fascinated by someone who makes videos just for home interior designers and doing their marketing. I think it's so niche.
Yes.
I guess.
Very, very, very niche.
I love that there's a podcast for everything.
Yeah, there truly is.
Do you have a role model?
It's hard to pin down to just one person because, I follow so many people on social media. But really, anyone who has started with minimal resources and then have, built some kind of successful business that they're able to maintain. I think anyone who has been able to do that, is worth my time to follow.
So you follow a lot of people on Instagram like that then?
I do. I look for those people. I like the Gary Vaynerchuks, and of course, Tony Robbins is, I don't agree with everything they always say, but it's great for inspiration and ideas and just, kind of get out of my own head and out of my own, my own box that you sometimes get stuck in when you're an independent consultant. So yeah, I look for those kinds of people to follow.
Yeah. And I guess, someone can stand for several things and you don't have to follow them for everything, just maybe one or two and learn from everything else.
One idea from someone, I think it's worthwhile.
Yeah. Have you completed any courses recently?
I did do Vanessa Van Edwards. I did one of her courses on the science of people about body language. I'm not done yet. I'm still working through that. I'm just at the very beginning, but it's really fascinating. It's like what you do with your hands and how close you are to the camera and how far all that stuff. I'm like, who would have thought that someone thought about that? But they have.
Have you implemented anything in sort of your own life yet?
I have, because I just started doing videos on YouTube. So I've taken lots of very good pointers to her about what to do with my hands. And I love iced tea, and I don't have a problem with energy and talking fast, and iced tea just kind of exacerbates all of that. So I don't do a big tea before I do a video anymore. And I've just kind of learned to slow down, calm down, and not talk with my hands as much, but still use your hands because people get uncomfortable if they can't see your hands. And she has all kinds of really good tips like that. So yeah, I have.
I think maybe I need to do that course then, because never see my hands in here.
Yeah. So it's like, hi, everyone, see my hands. So it's like, I'm trying to how do you make that seem more natural? So I'm working on it.
Yes. Can be too much hands or too many hands or not enough hands.
Now I'm thinking about my hands. I've never thought about my hands. I've only had to think about what I was going to say. But now it's, it's the whole thing. So it's really great.
That's good. Yeah. So how do you define organization?
I think a place for everything and everything in its place. Just really super simple and succinct. And I really think that is the nexus of the whole thing. Just having some place to put everything and being able to access it and then put it back. That whole, process and flow needs to be easy.
And why do you think that's important?
Because I think clutter is very stressful, right? Clutter and then not having someplace to put it or knowing what to do with it. I think it just compounds that whole thing. And I think if you have a system for organization and you've eliminated clutter, I think it just really, brings it's a calmer vibe. It's just a more pleasant place to live and think and exist and rest. And for me, it just, when it starts to get really messy, because I have two boys here at home, when things start to get out of control, I just feel like it's closing in on me, right? It's like, we got to take a minute, guys, and we just need to clean up. And it's just, for me, it's a matter of stress and just, having a space to think and breathe. And I think it impedes all of that if, it's cluttered.
Yeah, I definitely feel like that sometimes. You need to put all the books away. They're all crowding up on all the bench space.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
What is organizing with color?
I think organizing with color is when you can implement a framework of a template of color hue families, and you can implement that for categorizing all of your things. And it makes it easier to figure out where everything goes and what things need to be ordered together. So that's what I think a framework of color organization can help you with. It can help you figure out how to get started about what categories make sense for all of your things. So not only for putting them together to put them away, but also for going back to them and accessing them and finding them when you need to find it.
So you said hues. What are hues?
Hues are like the hue parents. And so, if you think about colors in terms of hue parents and child colors, then you can use a framework of just hue parents like red, orange, yellow, green. So you don't have to get too down into the details, the minutia of color, pink. Well, pink can go with the red hue parent, peach can go with your orange hue parent. So if you just organize by 10 simple hue families, then I think it simplifies that whole process.
So where would you start, I guess, with, organizing?
I would definitely start with your framework of hue parents. Like, what are your color categories? Yeah. I think it's important not to have too many, but you don't want to have too few. Because if you have too few, then you sit there, contemplating, well, is this a green yellow or is this a blue green? So I think Albert Munsell actually has a really great order system, and I love his 10 hue families, plus a white, a black, and a gray category. And so I think that's a good place to start, is deciding what are your hue parent categories that you plan on organizing everything under.
Mm-hmm. So that would just be like blue or green or red?
Well, there's 10 of them. There's 10 that I recommend, and it's red, orange, yellow, green, yellow, green, blue, blue, a purple, and then a red purple. And those are easy to find online. So there's just 10. And then, of course, white, black, and gray.
Mm-hmm. So that's more than like your traditional rainbow, I guess. Why is that?
I think, especially in terms of the green hue families, I think it's important to split it out to a green, yellow, a green, and a blue green, because it's not just green. And especially for home interiors, green is a very prominent, dominant color. It's in a lot of stuff, and in clothing too. You know, a lot of people can wear green. Some people can't wear green, but everyone can wear a different kind of green. So you might be the person who can wear an olive green, which is a green yellow, or you might have the coloring for a primary green proper, or some people look better in teals and aquas, which is a blue green. So, you know, that way, if you have the 10 hue families, you're able to customize it to your stuff and what you have. You don't have to use all of them, right, all at once, because no one owns things in every single color of the rainbow all the time. But I think if you start with that framework of 10, then you're able to refine that and customize it to where exactly you are in terms of your personal color palette and the choices that you're making for your clothing, your closet, as well as your home furnishings and decor.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So let's say you're organizing your wardrobe. After you've decided which 10 categories or which 10 hues you want to use, what's the next step?
I think this is where people make a mistake, is they don't group like things with like things, right? You know, it's the categories. It's, first of all, let's get everything that goes together into one category of like all of your t-shirts. Like, start with getting all of your t-shirts together, and then all of your shirts with a collar together, then all of your shorts and skirts together. You know, I put them in those general categories first, and then go back, and then within each category, put your t-shirts in order by color, and then put your shirts in order by color. Or if you want to mix your t-shirts and your collared shirts together, you know, that's up to you. But at least put everything in those first generalized categories at the beginning, and then you can go back in and refine it a little more and tweak it and get a little more orderly and organized by color. So I think that's a good place to start. It's just like, well, let's just get everything together in those general categories, instead of trying right out of the gate, trying to be super detailed about, well, we'll put all of the green stuff over here and then sort it out, you know? So it's a matter of how you like to work. But I think that's the best approach, is to get everything together that goes together, and then worry about putting them in order by color.
What do you do if someone's like colorblind, or if they don't see colors very well?
Yeah, well, you know, they still see colors in their own hierarchy. So you have to do the best you can. There are also color tools. I mean, it depends on how far you want to take it. Because, you know, and I recommend not taking this too seriously. Like, you know, this is a great framework, but you don't have to be too stringent and, like, you know, ridiculously serious about it. But there are color tools on the market that can help people. You know, they're called color readers. There's a Color Muse. There's an easy something. There's a NYX, and it will scan the color for you and tell you what hue family it belongs to. So if you want to take it that far, you could. I do have clients who are colorblind, who, when I introduce them to these devices, I have one gentleman who has scanned all of his socks because he wasn't able to tell the difference between his navy blue socks and his black socks in particular. He just couldn't see it. And so I taught him how to use the device. And so he was able to get his sock situation straightened out. And he just thinks it's the greatest thing ever.
I got to say, navy blue and black socks They're hard for anyone to tell the difference, or at least for
Yeah.
me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Maybe
It
I
is.
need
It's
one of
really
those.
difficult. So, and so he's using it for other things too. It's just kind of opened up a whole new world for him as far as understanding what other people are seeing. Of course, it doesn't change anything, but it's just brought him a different understanding of what other people are seeing and why certain things go together and why certain things don't.
Mm-hmm. So what shouldn't you do when you're organizing the home?
Specifically when you're using color to organize, like I said, I think it's really important to not take it too seriously and to get your system, your framework in place. Um, I think, and then taking it from there. And then, just if it's not fun, if it gets to a point where it's not fun and it's like too much of a chore, then I think that's a mistake.
And what are some challenges?
What are some challenges? I think the biggest challenge is space planning. Um, where are you going to put all of these things and how are you going to keep it organized when you get there? So having this big grand plan of how we're going to put everything in categories and get it nice and organized, and then we're going to put it in order by color. I think that's a great idea, but I think the full plan for it to be able to execute it is you have to think about where and how you're going to do it and make sure that you have space to do it. Because if it's an overcrowded space, then it's going to be harder to keep your system going forward. You know what I mean? So I think the biggest challenge is making sure you're clearing out the clutter and thinking about, how much room that's going to free up so you can keep your system that you've worked so hard to figure out going.
Mm-hmm.
So I think for a lot of people, space is the challenge.
So I guess something I've learned so far is the first step to organizing your home is always decluttering. It doesn't matter which technique you're using.
Right.
To organize your home, the first thing is to get rid of a bunch of stuff.
Right. Yeah. So you
Yeah.
have room to work. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Do you have anything else you'd like to say?
Anything else I'd like to say about organizing with color?
Yeah.
I think there are lots of tools that, you can, if you take a minute to think about it and even Google for it, there's lots of good ideas. For example, we've moved a couple times, and on the first move, I really took time. Everyone took time to like label every box and label every, Rubbermaid bin. It's like, put a label on it. Well, in the storage unit and in the truck, it's like no one can read those labels. We took all that time labeling everything. It's like you actually had to go get the box and like turn it to read it. So like how effective was the actual label? And so after the first move, I learned about packing tape that comes in all different colors. And like on Amazon, you can get a pack of 8 different colors, right? And so for the second move, everybody got assigned their color, right? So my oldest son, he had a box of blue packing tape. My youngest was red. My kitchen was yellow, and that's what we did. And every bin and every box for every person was color coded. And it was a game changer. It just, changed everything. And we just moved to the third time to a house where I think we're going to be for a while. And so we're slowly unloading things from the storage area. And, I tell you what, it made it so easy to say, hey guys, pull everything out of there with a yellow stripe of tape so I can get the kitchen done first. So I think that's, that was one of the one of the best things I ever thought of in terms of packing tape. And it also comes in patterns. It's not just colors. You can also get packing tape in patterns, which makes it a little more fun. Sorry, that was my email.
So you can get patterned packing tape.
You sure can. So you can get them in packs of colors, and you can also get different patterns, which makes it even more fun. Or if you have too many categories, so many categories for the set of 8 that you can get, because I think it's only like purple, green, orange. So you're kind of limited in the number of colors you can get with packing tape. So if you want to extend that to a pattern, you can do that. And, that was just the greatest thing ever. And you can also get masking tape too. So if you don't want to use packing tape, you can you can, go the masking tape route. And just, you want to think about where to put it on the bend. Don't put it on the top, I learned, because no one can see it because it's stacked. So you want to, you put it on the end or put it on the side. And, that's just the greatest thing. And also, the other thing I found that we use on a daily basis is different colors of cutting boards. So, that makes it really easy in the kitchen. It's like, we only use green cutting boards for vegetables and we use the blue or red ones for meat. And, so we don't have, because I have two boys, like I said. So in the kitchen, it can get kind of crazy and the cross contamination is an issue. So the other thing we really like is the different colored cutting boards. And there's all kinds of different things you can find to implement and add once you start down this path of organizing everything by color.
It makes me think, if you have like roommates or something, flatmates, if one person's vegetarian and doesn't want any meat to touch any of their plates, if they're that, or maybe if they're kosher and they don't want anything, you can have different colored plates and different colored utensils so you can differentiate them.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
I've never thought of that. And I really love your packing tape thing because my family moved a lot as well when I was a kid. And I just remember first day, and you're like looking through all the boxes because you don't have any cutlery, you don't have any plates, and all you're finding is books and clothes. And so when I moved for the first time, I labeled one of the boxes, this is the kettle, so I could make everyone a cup of tea when I arrived.
Right.
But yeah, packing tape is so much better because then you can just say, this is where all the kitchen stuff, it goes immediately into the kitchen and don't have to worry about it. And, if you want to label plates, kettle, pots afterwards to make it a bit easier as well, that would also be a good idea, I think.
Yeah, exactly. So when they were loading the truck, they knew, our movers knew if it had yellow tape on it, they would sit it inside. So it would go in last. So it would be the first off. So yeah, I mean, it was just a game changer, truly.
The other thing my parents did was they would put stickers on everything going to different, like, this is we're going to give away to friends. This one we're going to keep. This one we're going to sell. That was good. And then we would gradually get rid of things as we went.
Yeah. So, luckily I was in a position where we were able to take a truck to the donation center before we headed out and hit the road, because we drove actually for our last move from Texas to Arizona. So we were able to offload all of that. But I did the move prior to that. We didn't have time. And they, it was for my husband's job, and they sent movers and the whole thing. And I didn't have as much control. So, I was able to put all of that stuff together, and, everything that was going to be donated ended up being purple. So anything coated purple, they knew not to worry about, that it didn't have to get placed in the house. It wasn't a priority because I was going to get rid of it. So.
What about as well for like kids and things? So I guess that, some kids can be really particular about not sharing things.
Yeah, it's true. And that's one thing about this system, because there are no labels or words. It's just colors. It's easy to teach kids how to do it too. So everyone in the house can participate and help with the system once you have it in place. And it's great for toys. My son, they both of them were into Legos, and the other one, and one of them was into the race cars, what do I say? The I don't
Hot Wheels?
No, they had those too, but it was the cars you build, and then you had the remote control cars. I think it's remote control.
Meccano? No.
Huh?
Meccano? No.
No, I think it's just remote control cars.
Okay, remote control cars.
Yeah, is what they were. So he would build them, and then he could race them. So he had all of that stuff, and then he had the Lego stuff, and then so when we moved, he actually developed his own system. So he would put his stripe of blue on there, and then he would put a stripe of yellow or orange or whatever to then categorize all of his toys. So he had all of his stuff together. And I still have those bins because after we moved the last time, he was like done with the race car thing. And so it's easy to see where all of that stuff is because we still have them with the tape that he put on them 7 years ago. So we just pulled those out of storage and we're going to be getting rid of those. But at least we know where it is, and he was able to pull out the toys and the Legos that he wanted when we moved the last time. And instead of not knowing where they were, right, or everyone having to dig through everything to find what he wanted, it made it super easy. It's just now we have to get rid of it.
Yeah. Hopefully a little bit easier to get rid of just because you know what's there.
Yeah, we know exactly what's in there. Exactly.
So did you teach your kids how to organize with color as well?
Yeah, but they were there for the first move when everything was just labeled because they helped with that too. Because the first time we moved, they were like 7 and 11, and so everyone was participating, and you got to write the labels on it. And actually, I still have some of those boxes, the Christmas decorations stuff, where they labeled them for me. It's like now I can't get rid of those because the handwriting is like absolutely precious, but it was so ineffective. It's so ineffective. Now it's precious, but ineffective. So, they were right there with us on that first move when the labeling just didn't work. And then it's like they thought it was a grand idea for the tape when we moved from Texas. And they might have gone a little overboard with the tape. But, it's okay because we could tell from a mile away whose box that was. So, yeah, they were totally into it. Totally.
That's great. I bet they'll be super organized as well when they're older.
I think we all learned a lot of lessons.
Yeah.
when you move, you learn a lot of things that you never thought you were going to know.
Yes.
For sure.
Yeah. So what's something you do now in your own home to keep it organized?
I just keep that system going. And, when you move, luckily you're able to declutter. And so we travel light, but you still end up with more stuff than you think. And it just makes it easier to see what I have, especially in my closet, in terms of, what colors am I into these days. And, I was into royal blue for a while. And so it's like, since all of the blue is together, it makes it easy when it's time to, at the end of the year here in the States, it's a write-off for taxes if you make donations. So every year we go through the closet to see what, if there's anything that we want to donate. And it makes it easy to do that. It makes it easy to see what's there and what, it's like, yeah, I'm kind of over that. I'm over my blue period, my blue phase. So yeah, I can get rid of all of those. So it's just, an ongoing thing that helps to just, maintain more facets of your everyday tasks in life than you think.
How do you think it impacts you, maintaining the organization?
I do think it's time. Number one, it's time, because when you don't know where things are, that is just like a major time eater. It just, it's just so much time can dissolve away into searching for what you're looking for. And especially in my closet, and when my kids were little, in terms of the toys and that whole system for keeping that together and organized. We're leaving the house and they want to take something with them. It's like the worst thing is to have to go look for something. So it's just like, once you have that system in place, it's easy to maintain it going forward because you have that framework. And after a certain period of time, it just becomes more like a reflex, and it's just an organic thing. It's like, oh, this goes here. And so it's easy to maintain. And, I can't imagine walking into my closet and having to stand there and try to figure out what goes together and what's where, and it's like, didn't I have a brown tank top? And it's like, something obscure like that. Well, it could be in a drawer, it could be hanging up, but with the order system, it makes it just, super quick. It's mostly time in terms of time and sanity, I think, are the two biggest advantages. It's just time and sanity.
Mm-hmm. I always try to keep my sanity. Don't know how it's going. And I do love the idea of being able to say, this top would really go with brown pants. So we're all my brown pants, and you can just find all of the brown pants and you can sort of match them rather than digging through and finding one pair and going, oh, but I think this other pair, and digging through and trying to find a different pair. Yeah, so much easier. I'll have to go through my own wardrobe. I think everything is black though. So
yeah.
Black goes with everything.
It does. It does. I love, I wear a lot of black t-shirts, especially for what I do. I don't like to wear colors that interfere with, that are distracting for what's in front of me. So I do wear a lot of black, I have to admit.
It seems like a color specialist would wear a lot of color, but I guess it would be, it would interfere with the work in some ways.
That's interesting that you said that, because one of the very first seminars I took was from the IACCNA. And Frank Monkey is the gentleman who was spearheading that whole organization. He had written several books, so I was really excited about taking the seminar with Frank. And somebody asked him that question, and his reply was, well, I'm not a clown. I'm not a clown. So why would you think that, I'd be dressed very colorfully? And then that led into the whole discussion, which I had never thought about, well, the colors that you wear could be distracting to what's in front of you. And, that's why hairstylists wear black. There's a whole strategy behind that too. And I had never thought of it, but yeah, so guilty. I do wear a lot of black for that reason. And also it is very easy.
Yes. Doesn't matter if you get something on you because you can't see it.
True. Unless it's paint. And then, it doesn't matter what you have on.
True. So we also have some questions from the audience.
Okay, great.
Are there any colors that you should avoid?
Any colors that you should avoid are only the colors that you don't like. There's a whole structure of color psychology as far as, what colors are best to use in what rooms and for what purpose and what function, but that's probably a different podcast. So just to keep it really generic and easy, it's like the only colors that, basically don't try to use a trend color. For example, just because it's on trend or you're seeing it, the announcement from a paint company. If it doesn't resonate with you, then don't use it. So that's my advice. It's like, if it doesn't speak to you, if it doesn't bring you some sort of joy, is that Marie Kondo who says, if it doesn't spark joy, then get rid of it. It's the same with color. If it doesn't spark joy, then don't use it.
But I mean, how can you tell? So, 1 year I'll be, as you were saying, 1 year you were really into royal blue. How do you know that the next year you're not going to hate that color that you've put on the wall?
Well, you don't. And, it's, and that's the thing with trends. They are transient. And I think people get a little stuck sometimes making color decisions because they're afraid that it's going to be forever. And I think maybe reconciling with the fact that, those shirts aren't going to last forever anyway. It's like, it's those choices aren't forever choices. And you can get a new shirt. You can, if you're into pink, then you can go down that route and explore that. If, pink t-shirts and pink blouses are, sparking joy for you right now. And I think you need to give yourself grace and the space to do that.
And what about, like, when we're talking about like home furnishings and things, my parents always went with like neutrals, like beiges, browns, because they're sort of background colors for like the paintings and things. But
Sure.
like, I can't imagine that beige would ever spark joy with, I mean, maybe I'm just biased, but I can't imagine anyone would ever think that beige is a great color. Is that still like, if it doesn't spark joy, is it still okay, I guess?
If you got to choose a sofa and, you're in the store and you're limited in the choices, then you sometimes have to make those hard decisions. But if you're in a position to really think about it, then yeah, I think you should explore the opportunity to buy a sofa in a different color, and make that your jumping off point. Instead of trying to make your sofa fit in with everything else, maybe have the sofa be the jumping off point to inspire your rug selection and to inform the wall color and to help you choose, blinds. It's like maybe start with the biggest piece in the room. What is that biggest piece in the room? I have a very large family room in this new house. It's like, I don't know, 20 by 14. Finding a rug in there was impossible. So guess what? The rug was the biggest piece in the room. And so that's informing all those other choices. So, and it doesn't have to be, quote unquote, a neutral. Just it has to be a color that speaks to you and that you can see living with it. You can imagine being a part of your world for at least a while, maybe not forever. That's a good way to think of it too. It's like, can I live with this for a while, not forever? Because I don't think there's any such thing as a forever color, because, trends change. The look and style changes and ideas change and you change. So I think thinking in terms of, is this a forever color, can be limiting.
And things get dirty and a beige sofa becomes a brown sofa.
Right. So,
eventually.
Eventually.
So this, question 2. So the listener said, she read somewhere that we should be mindful with colors for baby rooms, as certain colors can agitate them. What are your thoughts on this?
I think there's something to that. Actually, I think in terms of babies, they don't see color immediately. They only see black, white, and red in the very beginning. And then slowly it fills in, their vision fills in, their color vision fills in. And I think, super bright, vivid, bold colors outside of black, white, and a pop of red, I think too much of that is not a good thing. So I think there's something to be said for the typical pastel colors that are, calming and soothing, because think about the function of that room first. I mean, it's not going to be their playroom for a very long time until they're at least, 4 or 5. I don't know if my kids actually played in their rooms when they were 4 by themselves, but, it's not until they get older that you might want to start decorating more in tune with where they are and what their likes are and the colors that they enjoy. But I think when they're little, I think, a calming, restful space and colors that support that are a good plan. There was a trend for a while for gray nurseries. Everything was gray and white. And I thought that was a little sad. It's like, bring in some color. It doesn't have to be super bold and vivid, strong colors, but bring in, some greens, some blues, something. Gray isn't at least the gray nurseries weren't super bold and poppy and super energizing and energetic. That was the good thing about that gray trend. But, I think it's an opportunity to have fun in a room that you don't get too many times in a lifetime. And I think you should take advantage and choose fun colors.
How many times do you get to paint your walls purple with dinosaurs or something?
Right? Exactly.
Yeah. So question 3, how does color help you stay organized?
How does color help you? Yeah.
Yes. And we've sort of hit that already, but
yeah. I think once you have that framework in place, it's just an ongoing thing, because then you don't have to think about it.
Question 4, how to organize colors effectively for workers who set up their home, their office from home, or they do work from home?
I think it's really important to have that system in place in your home office, from your filing system, and be consistent. That's my whole thing. Be logical about how you assign things to categories, and then be logical about the colors that you assign to those categories. Does it make sense to you? And is it something that you can remember going forward? So yeah, and it's the same thing. It's the same template, that's that same template of using categories and colors within those categories, using colors within those categories. It's the same template, whether it's your closet, your kitchen, your moving boxes, or your office. And that's one thing about it. It's like, if you explore this idea of how you can use the framework of hue families to categorize things and then put it in order within that category, you start thinking about all of the different places where it can apply. So it absolutely can apply to a home office. And, the result is efficiency. Again, it's the factor of time and efficiency and not fumbling around trying to find what you're looking for. It's having your stuff together.
Mm-hmm. So it would be something like if you had a filing system and all your work stuff was in an orange filing area and then all your home stuff was in the blue filing area. Is that sort of what you would do?
You definitely could do that. Receipts are a big thing for me because, I have my own business and then we have, the household stuff. So I have two different boxes and everybody knows that the green box is everything for the house. And then the pink box, it's really magenta. The magenta box, it sits on the back of my desk. My husband would throw receipts in there because he'd pick up, like he'd go to Sherwin-Williams and get a sample for me. Well, that all goes on my expenses. So that receipt goes in the magenta box. But if you bought something at the Home Depot we have a couple rental properties. So if you bought something for a rental property for a lighting fixture, it goes in the green box. So, because, you come home and you empty your pockets, all of the receipts, and I don't want those ending up in my kitchen junk drawer, right? It's like, no, put the receipts in the boxes. And I only have two, one for my business and one for our household stuff. Keep the finances separate. So it's definitely easier when it comes time to put all that stuff away.
Definitely sounds much easier than what I do, which is just put everything in a pile on my desk.
Yeah. Well, I've been there before too. Mm-hmm. It's like, so now not only do you have to go through the receipts and make sure you have those documented and you're tracking them, but then you have to go through the receipts and separate them out to see what tax bin it goes in. It's like
exactly.
It's like, so at least keeping the receipts separate as we acquire them has really made a difference. So there's all kinds of opportunity in your workspace, even on your desktop with the folders on, your desktop, you can color code those too. And like I said, once you get the framework in your head and you get rolling with it, it's really, there's no limit to how you can apply it to keeping yourself organized.
So, I've seen sort of on the internet people joking about color science and using like red splatters in a hospital. Is there a science behind color? Does blue really make you calm? Does red make you energized? Does that?
I think a better way to frame that is to consider color in terms of human supportive. How do we create human supportive environments using color? And a lot of it is common sense. It's like, it's common sense that a doctor isn't going to paint their waiting room red or hot pink, right? Those are kind of common sense things that are actually rooted in some science as far as how that energy of color affects how you're feeling. There are studies, some empirical studies even, that document that a red room can make you feel hotter, even though that dissipates after a while. But and green can make green makes time. I think that's right. Green makes your perception of time shorter. So there was one case study where they used a lot of green in a train. So then people had this perception that it didn't take as long to get there, that kind of thing. So there's all kinds of those little threads that you can pull and unweave when it comes to the psychology of color. But the overarching concept of that we can use color to create more human supportive environments, 110% believe that's true. Absolutely.
That's so interesting. Yeah. I've always wondered that because, I don't know. I guess it's like the whole with McDonald's making you feel hungry with those colors.
Right.
Yeah, it just seems, I don't know. It just doesn't seem like it can be real. But at the same time, people have studied it. Like, of course it's going to be true.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's true. I think I think you definitely can leverage the power of color. The depth of its influence and the long-term effect of its influence, I think there's a lot of room to have more discussion about that. But from a simplistic point of view and, in short time frames and, very quick perceptions and, those few seconds that you have someone's attention for them to make a decision, positive or negative, I absolutely think you can leverage the power of color to influence how those decisions go. I do.
Mm. So something like dressing well for an interview, like a job interview, and wearing like a really memorable color.
Yeah, like teals and aquas are supposed to give people the perception that you're approachable, as opposed to wearing, a bright red sweater or something, which can feel you're not bright red, you're burgundy, you're good.
Okay.
But a bright red like stop sign color, sweater or suit or something like that. That makes that has a different energy than a color of teal or aqua. It's about energy and what energy you want to put forward there, and what energy, what I would say, what kind of energy, personal energy that you want to push forward. And I think there's a lot that you can do with that too. Your personal color analysis, and there's many, many strategies I think people can employ. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. So now it's the time for the open mic. What did you want to talk about today?
What did I want to talk about today? I just think I think people need to know that there is a lot of innovation going on in terms of color right now. There's a lot of technology and tools out there that can help people manage color in their home like never before. The phrase "there's an app for that" sounds a little bit cliche, but believe it or not, when it comes to color, there are apps for that. And they've been around for a while. So they're well broken in, and we understand really well the limits of what they can and cannot do. It's just a matter of people discovering them. And I think that's something I would direct people to exploring is what's out there in terms of color apps for color for your home. And also there's some new innovative ideas about how you can use those apps to help you make selections for your wardrobe too. And so there's some exciting stuff coming up, I think.
Do you have any recommendations for those apps?
I have a few favorites. Mm-hmm. Definitely have a few favorites. They're mostly focused on home and home decor. I like the Color Muse. It's made by a company called Variable, and it's a good entry level device. It's $69. It's about the size of a pack of Lifesavers, and it works with a color wheel. I have a color wheel called the Color Strategist color wheel, but you can scan something like you have a countertop and you want to know what paint color goes best with that countertop. Well, you can scan it using the Color Muse, which captures the energy from the colors in that countertop. And then it quantifies it and puts it into a format that you can read in terms of hue angle. And then you can look that hue angle up on the color wheel and figure out what hue family it belongs to. So now we're back to that framework of hue families, right? Mm-hmm. And so then when you know what hue family, then that informs what your paint color options are. And I just think that's a really super efficient, low cost device for people to experiment with.
Yeah, that's really interesting. That's really cool. Being able to scan the tabletop and then say, this is the exact color I want. And then just, I don't know, I'm so bad at picking colors that go together. So I think that would be great for me.
It is. It's very helpful for a lot of people. Designers kind of have their own degree of color mojo, and it's they're able to do it. They can look at a rug and immediately know what the perfect neutral sofa is going to be to sit on that rug, right? That kind of thing. And not everyone has that ability, and not everyone has a job where they're able to curate and refine that ability either. Not, regular people don't make color decisions every day like a designer does. So these devices, I like to say they democratize color, and it makes it easy for everyone then to figure out what colors are the right colors that go together best. You don't have to have Color Mojo. You can get a little help.
Yeah. Any other apps that you suggest?
That one's probably my favorite for now. It's super simple. There's also a Canadian company that has a product called NYX that works very similar to how the Color Muse works. And they have a nice app too, and it does the same thing. But many paint companies have their own branded device that goes with their color collection too. So there's a range. People have a range to choose from, but I don't think a lot of people know they exist or how they work.
Yeah, I had no idea any of these existed. I'll have to go and find some and test them out.
Yep, it's pretty fun.
Anything else we've missed today that you wanted to talk about?
I don't think so. I think we covered a lot of bases with this topic. You kind of took it more places than I thought we could.
Great. If people want to find out more about you, where should they go?
I'm at the Land of Color. My website is thelandofcolor.com, and I have an online color training program called campchroma.com. So I have 2 websites. And on social media, it's either Lori Sawaya or the Land of Color.
Great. And we'll definitely put some more information, all the links and everything in our show notes so people can find you. Thank you, Lori, for coming and joining me today.
Thank you. It was fun. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
Wave bye. Use my hands to wave bye, right? I learned that. Bye.
You've been listening to Room by Room, produced by the Home Organisation Science Labs, a division of LMSL, the Life Management Science Labs. More episodes like this from across 10 life management perspectives can be found by searching LMSL on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube, and any other podcasting apps available on your smart devices. If you enjoyed this episode, please consider rating, sharing, and subscribing to our channel, as it helps other people to find it so we can grow and continue to bring you quality resources. More of our work can be found on our website, ho.lmsl.net, where you can join our movement. I'm Gabriella Joustra, and thanks for tuning in.